What's up, Totem Pole Nation? This is Lambo and Matt's World of Sports coming at you with our top 5 teams post Week 12 of the NFL season. There's been some debate. There's been some agreements. We'll have to see where this week takes us. Thank you to Sideline Sports Network, as always, for the platform. And if you want some merch to support the boys, the link is in the ticker. It's totempolenation.com. Let's go. All right, here we go. Post Week 12, top 5. The Chiefs are my number 5 team, dropping 2 spots after, a decent win versus the Raiders. But I will say that the consistency on offense is it's worrisome to me. I still have faith in that defense. It is still a very high-performing defense. And none of that has really been shaken. But week in, week out, I don't know if I can trust the receiving core. Travis Kelce obviously hasn't looked the exact same as we've been expecting him to look year to year. Obviously, he's in his 30s now, so it's a little different. But you still expect him to be, like a wide receiver 1. And Pat hasn't been able to rely on a consistent wide receiver 1 this year as much as in the past. He's still 4th in touchdowns, QBR 4th, he's still Pat Mahomes. He's still the best quarterback in the league, statistics aside. I think most people would agree with that. So that's why, they're still on this top 5. I don't really see them dropping off of it unless they just lose a game that they shouldn't lose. But I don't know if I can trust that offense enough right now for me to, put them over some of these other teams I have, including the number 4 team in the Ravens, who also dropped after a loss. After a win, excuse me. A little bit less of a convincing win, Lamar, where, I put Zay on here because he's kind of emerging as, a leader on this offense as a rookie, especially in Mark Andrews' absence. But, Lamar, where he does add a good amount on the ground, and that's what makes these numbers not too, alarming, that he's not a top 10 statistical quarterback, because what he can add on the ground does make him a top 10 quarterback. But, we've seen where, he's only got 5 picks. So I'm not saying he's turning the ball over a lot this year, but a lot of his interceptions so far have been pretty untimely. And, that's not completely on him. That's not me saying he's not clutch or whatever. Obviously, Lamar is a top athlete in the league. But, it's kind of similar to what I'm saying with the Chiefs. This is a top team in the NFL. It's why they're on this list. But I don't know if I'm trusting them if, I put them up against my Cowboys, who might or might not be on this list. If I put them up against my Cowboys, do I trust them in the 4th quarter, down 7, needing a touchdown? I think I trust the Dallas defense over this Ravens offense, So as good as they are, as good as this defense still is, I think I have to keep them at my 4 spot. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys, up to 3. They weren't ranked on my list last week, but we've seen nothing but dominance from them since that Philly game. And even before the Philly game, it was dominance there too. The point differential this year is insane. Obviously, you said you didn't watch the game on Thursday. All good. It was an ass whooping. You didn't miss much except for a bunch of Dallas Cowboys celebrating the whole time. Dak is statistically, a top 3 QB in the league. And since I think it's week 5 or week 6, he's the best quarterback in the league statistically. CeeDee Lamb has obviously broken through that barrier, which I said at the beginning of the year, I wanted him to be, a pretty widely regarded top 5 receiver, not just a top 10 guy. I think this year he's definitely proven that. He's reached another level. And this defense is just unstoppable, man. You look at, Deron Bland, obviously, but that's, everyone's talking about him. Stephon Gilmore, according to PFF, is one of the highest graded cornerbacks in the league. You look at the safeties; they're playing up to their level, and even with the absence of Leighton Vander Esch, the linebacking core is looking good. We're getting better against the run, and every week that we've played a top tier rusher in the league that includes DeAndre Swift, CMC, Austin Eckler. There's more. Saquon Barkley. we have held those guys to less than 3 yards a carry. In the Austin Eckler case, it was 1 point something. Like this defense, their Achilles heel was stopping the run, and they have figured that out as well as having one of the best secondaries in the league. So with the way this offense is humming, with the way that the defense is cooking, producing turnovers and, stopping drives before they really even start, it was hard for me to keep them at 3. But I do have to say that the two teams above, the Cowboys have beaten the Cowboys, and that is the Niners at the 2 spot on my list. It wasn't even a game against Seattle, and I understand Geno has been hurt and not hurt, back and forth and everything. But even if he played, up to his potential, I don't think this game is close. You see Brock's stats; he's a top 10, a top 5 QB. I think top 5 QB statistically this year. You can, critique some of his, stats a little bit when it comes to, when some yards and percentages and stuff came up. But only so much garbage time will give you the number 1 completion percentage in the league, the number 1 passer rating in the league. And with this team now healthy, Trent Williams back, Debo back, Brock is not concussed. CMC is still the best back in the league. You can see his stats here. And then the way that this defense is, it's tough for me to, pick another team above the Niners. I've been saying it all year. I think they're the most talented team in the league, top to bottom. But we'll see this coming week what the outcome is between them and the number 1 team on the list. That would be the Eagles. Now, tough win against Buffalo. And it was a big reason why I had them at number 1 last week or 2 weeks ago. They just find ways to win these damn games, dude. I mean, they were playing from behind and they came back, and they, in other games this year, they've, battled it out in, low scoring affairs. They've had shootouts. They've gone to overtime. They just find ways to win every type of game. The Dallas game, just trading punches, great stops, and just 1 or 2 plays, and they win the game like that every single damn time. The confidence that the teams. Okay, wait. Before I keep giving them praise, I will say this: Jalen Hurts right now is number 1 in MVP odds. He's like minus 400 or something, or plus 400, whereas Dak is like plus 800, and it goes down, down, down. Jalen Hurts being number 1 in the MVP odds right now is ridiculous. This is, I think, the best performing team in football. So I'm not saying that he sucks, but for him to be the number 1 MVP odd favorite right now is kind of ridiculous to me. I mean, tied for 4th in interceptions, and I understand the touchdowns on the ground kind of level that out a little bit, but last year, the interceptions were the biggest talk of the town when it came to another NFC East team. And this year, the interceptions are getting pushed to the side, and he's the number 1 guy when it comes to odds for MVP. So I don't think that's, completely fair. I don't think that it's right for him to be there. But I will say that it gives you an opportunity to put your futures in on other guys to win the MVP at, higher odds than maybe they should be. That's the end of my negativity. They are the number 1 team on this list. It's like I explained, they just find ways to win every kind of game, and it's getting old at this point. It's been the status quo for the past 2 years for these guys. And I don't know if you saw the video. I'll hand it over to you after this. The video of Graham, I think, in the 4th quarter, or no, in overtime, as Buffalo is lining up to kick their field goal. This is during the play. Like the holder is going through his cadence and he's yelling across the line. He said, y'all messed up. Y'all messed up. Like, we're going to win this game now. And he said, I don't know if you guys know Jalen Hurts like I do, but we're going to score a touchdown. And that's exactly what happened. So I will give him his credit. He does deserve, all the praise he's getting because, they're winning games in every single fashion. I will say, though, pump the brakes a little bit on the MVP talks. I don't know if he's completely deserving of that. But Eagles, Niners, Cowboys, Ravens, Chiefs, that is my top 5 in that order. I will hand it off to you.
Well, I think that's a very great, interesting list. Now, I think I'm going to surprise people with this list. I'm going to be very, very surprising. Number 5, I am going to put the Kansas City Chiefs at number 5. I do not trust their wide receivers. And I'm going back to that Eagles game where they should have won. Marquez Scandal, Valdez Scandal, dropped that touchdown pass that was wide open. I was watching from the hotel room. I might have been out of town, but I was watching. You dropped a wide open touchdown pass. Wide open. Pat Mahomes couldn't get you the ball any better than that. Then what happened on 4th and 25? Couldn't get much. Now, when it comes down to these Chiefs, I get it. They still have Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I get it. They still have Travis Kelce. He's too reliant on Travis Kelce. I mean, he's getting the yards, but they're too reliant. The defense is great, but they need to have some receivers. They're missing Tyreek Hill. Obviously, they're not the same offense. I get that. They won the Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. But this Tyreek Hill not being there does very hurt them. I wish that the Chiefs would have somewhat paid him. But like I said, Isaiah Pacheco is still running the ball at 669 yards, obviously. But it just comes down to consistencies of the wide receivers and the drop balls. I'm just not very pleased with the Chiefs offense. They're basically one-dimensional. What happens if Travis Kelce goes down? Then what is your offense going to look like? Is your Scott Moore going to be your target? Is Kadarius Toney going to be your target? Is Marquez Scanlon going to be your target? Like, who do you have to go to when you have no Travis Kelce on the field? This is why I have the Chiefs at number 5. At number 4, I am going to pick the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to pick them at number 4. The 49ers have been very, very consistent. They've been very well. That loss a couple weeks ago, their bounce back. Brock Purdy, by the way, is playing better. Christian McCaffrey with that blowout win against the Seattle Seahawks, obviously. My only concern is why I had the number 4 is because they're injury prone. They've been an injury prone team for a while. Before Christian McCaffrey got there, especially last year when they got 4 quarterbacks hurt, and he still somehow made the NFC Championship game. Now, my only concern is I have them as Super Bowl contenders, but towards the end of the season, is Debo going to go down? Is George Kittle going to go down? Is Brock Purdy going to go down? What's going to happen? They will get there, but just longevity, the 49ers have always been hurt. I agree with Kyle Shanahan. He's probably one of the best play calls in America. I have nothing bad to say about the 49ers, but when it comes to being healthy-wise, they just hadn't been healthy. And facts speak for itself. I mean, it is what it is. And I may sound harsh, but we'll see what happens if the 49ers can keep this consistency. By the way, the 49ers and the Eagles do play each other, so we'll see if injuries do affect it a little bit or they do not. We'll see how that goes. Now, my number 3 team that I'm going to surprise all of you with this is boom, 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 boom. If I can find it. My number 3 team is the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens are number 3. Here's why they were at number 3. That game against the Chargers was defensively won defensively. Surprisingly, the Chargers played a little bit better defense than I thought, especially giving up a lot of points. Brandon Staley should be gone. But when it comes down to the Ravens, I'm not confident in them offensively when it hits the 4th quarter. They've blown leads against the Browns, against other teams in the past. There's games where they should have won. Their defense is barely reliant. It's been a lot better. It comes down to injuries. Mark Andrews out for the year. Lamar Jackson, I'm not sure he's going to get hurt again. And I know I keep saying injuries, but injuries is part of the game. But we've seen what happens. They don't have their tight end, so where do they go to next? They got a new offensive coordinator, obviously, so they're still working the system, obviously. But when it comes down to this game, or when it comes down to the Ravens in general, they're a playoff contender. I just don't trust them in the playoffs because the offense stalls in the playoffs. So I know it's post week 12, but how I look at the list, I look at it longevity wise. Longevity wise, I don't think the Ravens are there longevity wise. They only won 2 playoff games since 2015. I'm still going to stick on that. But yeah, it's just very harsh. Now, my number 2 team in all of America that I'm going to pick is bam, 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 bam. The Dallas Cowboys are number 2. Here's why the Dallas Cowboys are number 2. All you people, I know I'm a Cowboys hater, but I'm gonna give credit where credit is due. Stop shitting on Dak Prescott because he has less interceptions than Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. He only had 6 interceptions of the year with 23 touchdown passes, 2,935 yards passing. Like I said, Dak Prescott statistically is probably on pace to have one of his best seasons statistically. He's on pace. The Cowboys has won 4 of the last 5 games. Now, the critics of the Cowboys is, can they beat a playoff team? Can they do this? Can they win a playoff game? Well, we'll figure that out in January if they can win a playoff game or not. But as of right now, the Dallas Cowboys are first in points when it comes to offense. They average at least 31 points a game. They still have CeeDee Lamb, who is the leading receiver on the team, obviously, despite trading away Amari Cooper, despite having injuries with Leighton Vander Esch and all that stuff. They still have Micah Parsons. Deron Bland with what? 5, 6 pick sixes this year. I mean, the defense is legit. It's getting better despite the Trayvon Diggs injury, which he will come back next year. The Dallas Cowboys are finding ways to win games. I know your fans are surprised that I'm not hating on them yet, but hey, they're better than my 2-9 sorry Patriots, all right? So I'm going to give them credit where credit is due. That's why I have Dallas Cowboys number 2. Do I think they're going to win the Super Bowl? Hell the fuck no, they ain't win no damn Super Bowl. But I have to give credit where credit is due. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be the number 2 team. They're fluid. I can't put them any lower than 5 or 6. They're better than the Lions. They're better than the Chiefs right now. They're all around, despite injuries. The Dallas Cowboys are my number 2 team on the list. Now, obviously, number 1 team, y'all already know my number 1 team will be the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles find ways to win games, obviously. You don't like the Eagles, but you're a Sixers fan. I do understand all that hate and all that passion towards those sorry Eagles, obviously. Eagles find ways to win games. I mean, I thought they lost the game against Buffalo. My only concern is that secondary. The reason why I picked the Cowboys to beat them the first time because that secondary is very, very suspect. Now, the Bills have a good offense, obviously, with the firing of Ken Dorsey. But 34 points, that secondary. Will they make the Super Bowl? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see the battle of the 49ers and Eagles game. Who is the better team? Who's the better team going forward? When it comes to the Eagles, Jalen Hurts has to play better. I don't know why y'all going on Twitter and saying he had one of his best games, not this week, but the past week where he threw for 150 yards and 2 picks or 1 interception. That was MVP stats. That's not MVP.
That's
stats.
what I'm saying. That's when oh my God, not to overrun your thing, dude. That's what I'm saying, dude. He put up a shit stat line, and because he rushed for a damn touchdown, he gets put up at the number 1 MVP odds out of everyone in the league. And this is not just me as a Dallas guy. Like, Dak's stats this year are well within MVP conversation, and he is being talked about in those conversations now. But for Jalen to still be number 1 is just bonkers to me. I get it. It's not all stats, right? And you have to take into account winning games and stuff. But if you can honestly tell me that his 155 and 2 interceptions helped them win that game, you are on some drugs. All right. That was a deterrent for them to win that game. And it's the game that he got boosted to the number 1 odds. So you tell me how that makes any sense. I don't know. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It just makes me so mad.
No, they're good. So when it comes to the point of Jalen Hurts, looking at it against the Bills, he had 1 interception, 3 touchdowns, obviously. But your completion percentage is 58%. So your completion percentage has been slightly down the last 2 games. You had a 63 against the Chiefs. You had a 58 against the Bills. Now, I have to criticize what criticism is due. Jalen Hurts already admitted he didn't play a great game, but even with 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, even despite them being running touchdowns and whatnot, it's you got 18 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. I'll be criticizing my quarterback if somebody at 18 and 10. That's not good. I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts is a scrub. It's just when it comes down to the Eagles, they have some holes. Now, the thing that I will point out, Frank Wright is fired from the Panthers. So when Nick Sirianni bring him in, because they were former assistants back then, obviously, when he bring them back in to revamp that offense, because the offense is still got a little tweaks and touches. Can the Eagles do something? Yes. The Eagles are winning games because they're finding ways to win. Jalen Hurts is part of the reason that they're winning the game, but he's not the main reason they're winning the game. All right? The defense is getting turnovers. Jalen Hurts is making good plays in order to win the game. He's not really making plays to lose the game except the Jets game earlier this year when they lost the game. But let's just be real. Jalen Hurts has 10 interceptions, which is basically tied for 4th in the league for interceptions. I even criticized Mac Jones for how many interceptions he fucking throw. And I'm not comparing them, obviously. But, I mean, it's not good to have 18 and 10, especially if we're criticizing Dak Prescott in the past for his crucial interceptions. We're criticizing Josh Allen for the same thing. We got to put Jalen Hurts. We got to put some criticism on the Jalen Hurts thing. That is not MVP stats if you say 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick, which some of it's on the run ground. I get it. But your completion percentage is only at 58%. And then against the Chiefs in a win, your completion percentage is 63%. Yeah, it's not MVP stats. I'm very sorry to hurt y'all Eagles feelings, but we have to be realistic here. What's MVP stats? Five touchdowns, whatever you want to call it. I get that the game is not based off stats. I understand that, but let's just not be trolls on Twitter and social media, which I don't read that stuff. Obviously, I peep it a little bit, but you can't have no touchdowns and 1 pick and say, "Hey, MVP stats." No.
Right. And so we can go back and look at, I don't have it right in front of me, but looking at, the past 5 MVPs who have been Pat Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yes.
I'm not saying that Jalen has to be Pat or Aaron, but you ask, you bring up the question, what do MVP stats look like? Well, if we look at the past 4 or 5 years of the MVP, which has been only Aaron and Pat, it's Aaron throwing, single-digit interceptions to 30 touchdowns at a 71% clip, or it's Pat who does, sometimes throw a little bit more, 11, 12 interceptions, but he's got damn 45 to 50 touchdowns, so a 1.8 to 1 touchdown interception ratio with a middle of the pack completion percentage and the 10th best QBR or whatever, that I understand what he's adding on the ground. I get it. He is an effective runner. It's not just the 1-yard tush pushes, but that's the majority of those touchdowns on the ground as well. So it's not and that is not saying that play is not great. We shouldn't, I'm not taking away from that. If everybody could do it, everybody would be doing it. But let's not act like that's something that's MVP raising, it's just, if we want to look at what MVP stats are, they're not what Jalen has right now. That's all I'll say, because we can go and look at what they are, and it's damn sure not what he's got on the field right now.
It's not. Well, this is it for NFL Top 5 postings week 12. Like I said, we'll go back to this next week, obviously, but tomorrow is the recruiting trail. Like I said, tune in at 5 o'clock for all the recruiting trail, for all the insight for college players, teams, and all that. See what it can do, because basically college football season is over for some teams that hadn't made bowl games, but it's still going on. So tune in tomorrow, and also tune in Thursday for Thursday Night Football. Not only that, but the previews of all the games that's going to happen on Sunday, plus the firing of Frank Wright and where the Panthers' direction is going. They fired the coach, but can they fire the owner? I don't think they will. But we'll give you your insight tomorrow and Thursday. We are officially back from the holidays, But if you need your merch, go to totempolenation.com. Subscribe to Totem Pole Nation, and we will catch you tomorrow. Peace. Adios.